Hey guys, just a little surprise for you. I ended up doing a little bit of a spring discount book haul. So stick around to find out what I got. Hey guys, if you're new here, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole. If this isn't your first rodeo, thank you for sticking around. I really love you guys. So, like I said a little bit before, I kind of decided it's about time for me to do a little bit of a visit to my local discount bookstores, some thrift bookstores, and some of the places where I go online. And I ended up making kind of like two purchases with a little bit of a stack here. So the first books I'm going to go through, there's about 6 of them I ended up getting at a local thrift store. And then the rest of them will be a purchase that I made online. So I will get into it. I will try not to go crazy because, yeah, there's a lot. So anyway, the first book that I got was Letters from Rivka by Karen Hesse. This was kind of like a guilty purchase. I've already read this. I read this when I was much younger. It's a little children's book, or it's more like I would say middle grade. And this is basically a book about a girl named Rivka who travels to the US with her family. I think it says 1919. And they're coming from Russia and they land in Ellis Island. And what happens is while they're going through all the kind of processing of coming into the country, they discover that Rivka has an illness or that she's sick. And so her family has to leave her behind on Ellis Island while she heals. And so the whole book is kind of the letters to her family from her while she's kind of staying through Ellis Island and meeting with other immigrants that are coming over and kind of the trials and tribulations that are going through. So it's a very good kind of historical fiction for, like I said, a middle grade and up. But like I said, it was a book that I read as a kid, and it just kind of always stuck with me as one of those, I remember this book. Other books, this one I definitely remembered. So I picked it up because I want it on my bookshelf, and hopefully, I know it's probably a book that's more tended towards a female audience, but because of its historical background, I probably would make my boys read it anyway, or read it with them. It's a short one. So the next book that I got, I've been reading the Nora Roberts Dragonheart Legacy. So I figured I wanted to try, because I like her writing style. It's very kind of easy and kind of fun to read at times. So I wanted to pick up a different book, and I ended up finding this one, which is Stars of Fortune, and it's book 1 in the Guardians trilogy, and it kind of seems like it borders on almost like a fantasy treasure hunt. There's 3 goddesses celebrating a new queen of the moon create 3 stars, one of fire, one of ice, and one of water. But then the stars fall from the sky, putting the fate of all worlds in danger. Now 3 women and 3 men have to join forces to pick up the pieces. So it just goes into these 3 men, and I don't know. I think there's 2 people covered in this one, so I'm wondering if it's like a trilogy or something going on, where each book is going to cover a one male, one female relationship and how their romantic endeavor to find these stars kind of gets it. So it's kind of got treasure hunting in it, because the stars are kind of seen as like there's adventure to get to the stars, and then it seems like there might be some romance, because I know Nora Roberts writes romance. So I figured I'd take a chance on this, because all of these were like $1.91 at my thrift store. So I mean, I can take a chance on that. The next book that I got at the thrift store is Southern Spirits by Angie Fox. This is the Southern Ghost Hunter Mysteries book 1. And it just really, honestly, this was a cover by, I'm not gonna lie, it just had this really cute, like, spooky house and girl. And it looks like it's just kind of your supernatural romance, paranormal romance, with a graphic designer who traps a ghost on her property, and she gains the ability to see spirits. So she ends up having to team up with the town's bad boy and the brother of her ex. So I'm like, it has, maybe a little forbidden romance, but it's also like solving crime. So paranormal romance mystery, and probably with some comedy and cuteness in there. So that just felt like a fun little buy. Next up, I ended up picking up The Final Girls by Riley Sager. I've seen this making the rounds, especially around Halloween last year on YouTube. And what I can gather from this is another one that some people like it, some people don't, but a lot of people really like Riley Sager's writing. So I'm not usually one for like horror thriller books, but I'm trying to get a few because I know they come up in prompts and readathons, and so this might be one of the books that I wait until October to read, unless I need like a murder mystery prompt. But as far as I know, this is supposed to be kind of like a club or like a therapy group for girls who were the final girls standing against some sort of like killer or something like that. And that this is kind of like their stories, and I don't know if like someone comes back to get them. I don't know what it is, but that's kind of what I just got from it, was that, you know, it's all these girls who survived, and it's almost like this is like the sequel to them surviving the first movie, if you know what I mean. So I thought, you know, it wasn't up my alley. I wasn't normally going to get it, but when I saw it and it's $1, like $2 to get it, I was like, let's take a chance. We'll try it. It's got, you know, whatever. The next book that I got at the thrift store was one that was actually on my list for a while, and that is Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. This one, I'm not going to lie, when I read the excerpt from it, it reminded me of the old, I think it's the 60s movie Pillow Talk. I know they did like a kind of spin-off or remake of it with like Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor, I think in like the 90s. And it was okay, but the original 60s one with Doris Day and Rock Hudson is hysterical, and I love it, and I recommend it because it's just the greatest. But this one gave me that, where you basically you have Olivia Marshall, who is kind of the mess up in her family, and she gets a random text message, and she starts flirting with the person who gave her the text message and falls kind of in love with the guy sending her these like sweet and romantic and flirty little messages. And then you have Colin, who's considered Olivia his best friend's annoying little sister. So when she moves in with them after one of her really bad like rings of luck, he realizes that, you know, he's kind of attracted to her, and he finds out that she's the girl that he's kind of been sending these saucy little texts to. So it's kind of like, that's what I'm saying in Pillow Talk, it's very similar, where they share an old party line, which I know everybody has no idea what I'm talking about, but way back in the day, even before me, there used to be party lines where you shared your phone line with somebody else, and it was like a stranger, and you would have to like have certain calls, or you would pick up the phone and tell, if somebody was on the phone, you'd be like, can you get off? I need to make like an emergency call. You'd have to do it that way. It was really weird. And people could listen in on your calls and know what was going on. And in Pillow Talk, Rock Hudson and Doris Day share a party line, and on the party line, he is like absolutely horrible to her. He's so mean. And then she meets him because she's an interior decorator, and he's like this wealthy songwriter. And he meets her, and he falls for her right away. And so he starts to pretend he's like this rich Texan Southern gentleman to her. And he starts taking her out, and she's falling for him, all the while arguing with him on the phone, not realizing it's him. And of course he plays it up. And it's just the hilarious antics ensue in that movie, like I said. So it got a lot of Pillow Talk vibes from this. So I can't wait to get it now that I've, you know, found this. I can't wait to read this one because I'm just curious to see if it is really going to be like Pillow Talk. The last book that I got on my thrift store haul is Wicked Saints. This was also kind of on a wish list for me. It just sounded really interesting. Once again, it seemed like it was cast as like a horror or thriller, which normally isn't my go-to, but it also had this fantasy element where you have a girl named Nadia who hears the whispers of the gods inside her head, a prince surrounded by desperate suitors and deadly assassins, and a monster hidden behind pale, tortured eyes and a smile that cuts like a knife. The paths of these three characters becomes entwined during a centuries-long war filled with sinners and saints, magic and mystery, and star-crossed romance that threatens to tip the scales between dark and light forever. So like that just kind of, I was like, that actually sounds kind of good. So I'm going to go ahead and, get to this one at some point. Cause like I said, this was on my list. So I was really happy to find it. For like I said, like $2. So it was like $13 for all of those, which I am not going to complain about because getting a deal is yes. So basically I also did another big purchase through Book Outlet. And for those of you that don't know, Book Outlet is kind of a discount site. I know their main hub I think is in Canada, but they do have an American branch that they can go from, and they kind of have it's kind of like a first come first serve. They don't always have like the newest releases, but I mean fairly new books they will get, and you can usually find some paper books as low as $3, but they're usually around like $4 or $5 for paperbacks, and usually about $8 for a hardcover, which I find fantastic because that just saves me. As a mommy, I need to save money for my little ones, so I try to buy on a budget as much as I can. So I did go ahead and get this kind of big haul to kind of last me until my birthday. I might have to get a few little ones for my 40 before 40 that aren't available through like my library app or like Kindle Unlimited or anything. But anyway, we will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I got from Book Outlet is an old school one, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I remember this came out, I think I was end of high school, early college for me, and I wanted to read it, but school just kind of got in the way, so I didn't. But this is kind of a 1920s Ziegfeld pickpockets. I think they have magical abilities. I'm not sure. And a little bit of like mystery. So I know that a lot of people have actually liked the writings of Libba Bray. So I went ahead and picked this one up. And this is the only book that came a little damaged. It was just a little bit. So I'm going to tape that up, and, if I really truly love the series, then I might just, get the hardbacks or something. The next book is one that I have been having my eye on for over a year. I wanted to get it, and when I tried to get it every time from Book Outlet, they've been sold out. So they finally had it in stock, and I was like, I'm getting it. It's going to sit on my shelf till Christmas time. But that is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is like a retelling of the like Scrooge, where you have a girl who was visited by the three ghosts, all that stuff, and she decides to completely disregard them, and then she dies. So now she's part of the top secret company Project Scrooge as the latest ghost of Christmas past. So she has to now kind of guide others, and I think they say that there might be a way for her to change what's going on or learn, but it seems like it'd be a really kind of funny take because she's supposed to not really care, and she's got to kind of learn to care. But it even says every Scrooge deserves a second chance. So it's gonna be interesting considering she disregards them and then she passes away, what's going to happen and how she's going to kind of go through that. But I just, like I said, I had my eye on it and I really wanted to just get it. So that will probably be on my shelves until around Christmas time because it is a holiday kind of book. Next, I ended up getting, all of these have kind of been sitting in my queue and I've been watching them. So this one is The Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. This one I liked because of two other books, which, spoiler, this reminded me of the Magicians, the TV series, which I got a few of those later on. But basically you have magical houses in New York City, more of like an adult, like kind of Harry Potter, how the magical world works. And apparently it's supposed to be a magical revenge thriller. So I'm curious to get to that because, like I said, it gave me Magicians vibes. And so I wanted to see what it was like or how it compared. Speaking of next, I'll just put them both together. I got The Magicians and The Magician King by Lev Grossman. This is book 1, and I believe this is book 2 in the Magicians trilogy. I read The Magicians when the book first came out many years ago, and I didn't really care for it. But then the show came out, and I absolutely loved the show. I loved the show. And so now I kind of wanted to be like, well, you know what? Maybe it's one of those books that I was like younger and I didn't fully understand. And now that I'm older and I love the show, maybe it's worth re-looking at and going through, and then also seeing whether it stays within the confines of the series or goes off on its own tangent, as many shows do. But like I said, I am a huge fan of the show. I love the show. So I'm going to try to get these on my list, and then eventually pick up the third one and read that as well. So this will go kind of hand in hand, with the Unkindness Magicians, because they're both magic that takes place in New York. You know, you have the modern day. I know that the difference with this is that there is kind of a magical college called Breakbills, that if you have magical talent, you'll end up there and you take a test to kind of go there. And it's just a really kind of messed up magical world. There's kind of another realm that is like a messed up version of Narnia, is the best way to go about that. And it's just kind of how these students of Breakbills fit into the story of this like messed up Narnia, as well as how they survive in real world in New York. So you have like, there's some magic still existing in New York, and just the kind of different factions going on there. So I'll be interested to see and go from there. The next is another magical read, and that is The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling. You've probably seen this making its rounds. And it's just what it is you have a witch who wants to kind of take it and stick it to her ex by casting a spell on him, and it kind of backfires. And now her ex comes back, and they kind of have to solve attacks that are going on magical creatures and people in their town, while she may or may not be trying to figure out how to get the hex that she cast off of him. And will there be romance? Will sparks fly once again? So that I will be doing. The next book that I got is Be Not Far From Me by Mindy McGinnis. This one, again, like I said, I don't know what it was. I was going somewhere between magical, fantasy, rom-com, whatever. That was just seemed to be my mood. And like then thrillers and horror and suspense. It was like one or the other. And basically, Ashley knows the truth deep in her bones, more than at home and the trees overhead than a roof. So when she goes hiking in the Smokies with her friends for a night of partying, the falling dark and creaking trees are second nature to her, but people are not tame either. And when Ashley catches her boyfriend with another girl, drunken rage sends her running into the night, stopped by a nasty fall into a ravine. Morning brings a realization that she's alone and far off trail. Lost in the undisturbed forest and with nothing but the clothes on her back, she must figure out how to survive with a red streak of infection creeping up her leg. So it's, going to be a very interesting story of female survival in the wilderness, but it could be something really, really good. So I'm going to do that one. Next is, I think it was actually, my pile just slid everywhere. I'm so sorry to my books. I feel so bad. I know they're books, but I don't like it when they fall and they're not, cared for. Anyway, I will pick you up soon, I promise. The next book that I ended up getting, I think this was actually the team book prompt for Tropical Readathon back in August for the team romance, and that is Spoiler Alert. I think that's how that came on my radar. This is basically you have this guy who is named Marcus. He is the star of this big show on television, and he has a secret identity as kind of like a nerdy kind of book guy that releases books on like something, online. And that's where he kind of meets this other girl who is April, and her online tag is Lavinia, and Lavinia writes a lot of steamy kind of fan fictions of her own, and Marcus is actually her biggest fan. So basically what happens is they meet up in real life, and I think he starts to figure out who she is before she figures out who he is, but it's kind of the romance. Also, this is a curvy girl romance, but it just seemed like a lot of fun. Some, cases of mistaken identities, and I can't wait to read it, and so I'm going to. Next, I ended up getting Anatomy, a Love Story. This was one that honestly I didn't know if I was going to get into because it sounded, like I said, more on the horror and gore side. But I've heard a lot of people swearing that it's actually really good. So I figured, I keep kind of seeing it. And this is kind of, I don't know if it's early 1920s, but you have a girl who wants to be a doctor with a medical career, and it's during, it doesn't say when the time is, but I think it's around the time when you have where girls can't or are kind of shunned from the medical societies and becoming doctors, and that when you have to learn, you have to kind of practice on cadavers. And there were a lot of, in the 1920s, the grave robbers, and that was the way of selling. The grave robbers would go rob the graves and then sell it to the medical schools, and it was this whole hushed about thing. And so I think that's kind of what's going on here. And it looks like Hazel's made a deal with Dr. Beecham. If she can pass the medical examination on her own, he will allow her to continue with her medical career. And apparently there's strange men stalking around cemeteries. There's a fever going around killing people. And so I don't know if Jack is the doctor's name, but there is a Jack, and he has to work with Hazel to figure out what is going on. So there's murder, mayhem, and mystery, all mixed in with apparently a love story. So it'll be interesting. Probably going to be an October read if I'm, saying anything about it. This one's been on my mind for a little bit, and that is Fable by Adrienne Young. This one, I just really thought it was a beautiful cover. And then it kind of has, it's like a fantasy, mythological. I think this is one where you have a 17-year-old Fable, who's the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows. She's watched her mother drown during a storm, and then her father basically abandons her on an island filled with thieves and little food. She has to learn to survive based on the skills that her mother taught her, and find her dad, demand her rightful place beside him on his crew. And so in order to do that, she gets the help of a young trader named West to get her off the island. But her father's rivalries and dangers of his trading enterprise have only multiplied since she last saw him. And she soon finds that West isn't what he seems. So together, they will have to survive the treacherous storms that haunt the Narrows if they're going to stay alive. So I know this is the first in, I think it's a duology. I'm not sure. But like I said, I loved the cover. It seemed really interesting. And so I finally decided to take the plunge and get that. The last book that I got was The Liar's Crown by Abigail Owens. I keep putting my hand on these because I get it from a discount site, so it still has the old Target sticker on there. And this one it says one born to rule, one to forfeit. And what you basically have on this one is, I'll just read it. Everything about my life is a lie. As a hidden twin princess born second, I have only one purpose: to sacrifice my life for my sister if death comes for her. I've been living under the guise of a poor obscure girl of no standing, slipping into the palace and into the role of the true princess when danger is present. Now the queen is dead, and the ageless King Eidolon has sent my sister a gift, an eerily familiar gift, and a proposal to wed. I don't trust him, so I do what I was born to do and secretly take her place on the eve of the coronation, which is why when a figure made of shadow kidnaps the new queen, he gets me by mistake. As I try to escape, all the lies start to unravel, and not just my lies. The shadow wraith who took me has secrets of his own. He struggles to contain the shadows he wields, other faces, identities that threaten my very life. Winter is at the walls, darkness is looming, and the only way to save my sister and our dominion is to kill Eidolon and the Shadow Wraith who has stolen my heart. So, it sounded good. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, like I said, it was either, it felt like fun romance or like a little bit of fantasy romance and then just magical mayhem murder on the other side. Two sides of a coin, I guess. But all of those are what I got. And so, yeah, I think if I pick them all up, they're going to be all kind of mixed and, you know, whatever in here. I can actually pick them up without them falling. Would be great. Oh, one fell. But yeah, and then this last one here. So just, you know, a place to rest my chin as I make it going on. So basically, yeah, this is kind of what I walked away with between, you know, the thrift stores and the discount online. But quite the haul. I think I'm going to be good for a little bit because I know that my Kindle Unlimited is filling up, you know, my queue as well. I'm getting a lot through there. And then I still have to read my 40 before 40. But these, you know, are going to go on my shelf and have fun. You know, now I have a little bit more choices to choose from, especially when we get around to spooky season. If some of these last that long, don't know. They might not. So, yeah, if you've read any of these, let me know if you liked them or not. Let me know if there's other books that you think I should pay attention to. And how do you think I did? But anyways, I figured I would do that. Like I said, I think I'm going to be pretty good until the summertime, and then we'll see what happens if I need to do a little more refilling on my shelves and do another discount purchase. Always looking for an excuse for that, right? But yeah, so that is that, and I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.